Hi, this is Novia. Today I want to compare and contrast two articles named The Yellow Wallpaper, and then the other one is A Rose for Emily. I would like to make three parts. The first part is summarize article A Rose for Emily. A Rose for Emily is begin with the funeral of tall, recluse, and strange Emily Gershon. The town views her funeral as an obligation and a bit of chore. For there, the story is told in a now-linear fashion based on the narrator's memories of Emily's increasingly unpredictable behavior. Emily's family was once source noble, and after the Civil War, they fall on hard times. Although the war is over, Emily and her father continued to live as they did before, with her father refusing to allow Emily to marry. When he dies and leaves Emily alone at age 30, she is shocked and devastated when she refused to bury him. The townspeople write it off as a weird grieving process. Emily recovers eventually, and she becomes friendly with a man named Howard Barron, a Northern who came to town shortly after her father's death. The townspeople are pleased but surprised. However, Homer claims that he isn't the married kind and intends to stay a bachelor forever. When Emily is seen buying potion for the local store, the townspeople are convinced that Homer's declarations has driven her to suicide. The town arranged for Emily's distant cousin to come into town to watch over her, and Homer leaves. After a brief return to town 3 days later, Homer disappeared and he's never seen again. Despite all these events, Emily continues with her unfriendly manner, unusual way as if nothing has happened. The town is soon plagued by a terrible smell coming from Emily's house, but as always, they deal with the problem in a roundabout way. That at night, the men sprinkle lamps around her house, and the smell soon gradually. The manor decided to give Emily taxes under the pretense of paying back her father after his death, and Emily is left alone in her house. Years later, with a new generation of leaders in office, Emily insists on the same arrangement. At this point, the town has begun to think of her as hereditary obligation, and they tolerate her strange behavior. Emily's funeral at the end of the novel is a large affair. Many people come only to look at the famous local noble. After the funeral, a few townspeople decided to explore what's left. To find her bedroom locked, and they knocked down the door to find inside every gift Emily ever bought for Homer. On the bed is badly decomposed body of Homer Barron with an indentation in the pillow beside him, and a single gray hair. Then I would like to make three parts to compare and contrast the two stories. The first part, I want to talk about the female characteristic between The Yellow Wallpaper and A Rose for Emily. The narrator in yellow wallpaper is a woman who just gives birth a baby. Her husband took her to the house for relaxing. She tried to accept her husband's requests such as no social, no work, no writing, but in her mind, she still wants to do something which she's like. She is full of imagination. She tries to put her imagination on other objects, such as yellow wallpaper. She used her imagination to ignore her growing frustration. However, her negative feeling becomes serious because her family and her husband. Therefore, she started to write secret diary for relieving her mind. But also we can see that she can't help but fall into her image world. She wants to escape her husband's control. She desires freedom, so in the end she totally loses her mental. In the roles for Emily, the main female character is Mrs. Emily Gershon. She is an alone woman after her father's death. From all evidence, her father controlled her completely until his death, and even continued to control her from beyond the grave. Her father separated Emily from town people when he was alive. Therefore, Emily didn't have a lover and any friends. Emily used to obey her father and didn't want to escape. After her father died, Emily failed to marry. She suffered a lot at that time. When she met a new man from North America, Homer Barron, she fell in love with him. But obviously, Homer didn't want to marry with Emily. As a result, Emily bought a poison for kill him. Emily can't communicate with town people. She continues the Georgian tradition of believing her social standing in higher than it really is. That is why she allows herself to be courted by Homer Barron, a man well below her classes and a Northern to boot. Homer, unfortunately, isn't a married man, so Mrs. Emily secretly kills him and keeps his body in her bedroom. She became a recluse after Homer's disappearance, and the town doesn't discover her secret until after her own passing 40 years later. And I would like to compare some symbols between the rose for Emily and the yellow wallpaper. The house of the yellow wallpaper is like a prison or madhouse, which the narrator said the house includes bears on the window and rings in the wall. The bedroom being represented like a prison only further emphasized the Gothic symbolism, as well as a lack of freedom for the narrator. She is not even allowed to take a room that she wants downstairs. We also know that if narrator has more freedom, she wouldn't be a maid in the end. The house in the rose of Emily, I think, is a symbol of Emily's inner state. At the story open, the house is bright and fresh, with clean white walls. Emily also is energetic and fresh in her youth, and she is as pure as the world as white, as her father protects her purity by turning away any man he doesn't believe measure up to her standards, which are all of land. As the story progresses, the houses become dirty, smelly, and full. At the same time, Emily becomes an elder woman and her spirit more criminal. Her descending into madness, not only killing her lover, but also sleeping with his dead body. In conclusion, we can see that in two stories, both women has an unhappy life. Emily is alone in her whole life, and the Jane, or we can say the narrator, become crazy in the end. Women usually had an unfair right and status in the past. Now we should focus on the women's rights issues. I think the most important thing is we should throw away our bias and try to respect everyone. No racial discrimination, no sexual discrimination, no stereotypes, so that we can have more happy life in the future. I'm Novia. Thank you for listening.